Hey guys, I'm Nicole Herrick and I'm going to show you how I made this compost tumbler and stand for around about 40 bucks Australian. Okay, so here is the barrel that we bought for $15 on Facebook Marketplace. So it's a 220 litre and I like it because it has these two grooves in it, which I thought we can sit on top of some casters and then that will just spin freely. So this used to house olives, so I've got to give it a bit of a wipe out to make sure that that's all nice and clean inside. Sarah is over here on unscrewing duty. This timber used to be my kitchen bench in my old apartment, so we're just reutilizing this timber. And this is the plan. So I did a few iterations of sort of what I wanted to do for the base and ultimately decided on this one. So this is where the casters are going to sit and they're going to line up perfectly with those grooves so that the barrel can sit on top sideways like this and then spin around just manually. And then so I've just measured up the barrel to sort of see where everything is, so how far apart the grooves are, how tall the whole thing is. And then I'm going to do a hatch on the barrel itself so that we can put stuff in and take stuff out, and then that's going to be about 45 centimeters across by about 30 high, and we're going to have a divider in the middle. So one half of the barrel will have stuff that's maturing, and then the other side we can start filling up. And then in either end I'm going to cut some holes to be vent holes, and then I also have to figure out what I'm going to use to put a little valve in the bottom so that we can drain out liquid whenever we need to and keep that liquid to put on our garden. So first I cut out the pieces for the legs. So I just chose a slight angle. I think it's around 15 degrees, but I just eyeballed it. But then I used that one piece to draw every single line. So I used that piece as a template. And then I'm going to put these legs together using pocket holes. So the first thing I'm going to do is just mark where I'm doing the pocket holes, just so I don't forget where I'm going. And the reason we do pocket holes is because we want to go in through the side of the timber and never in directly through an end grain. So we're going in through an outer grain. I don't even know if that's what it's called, but we're going in through an outside edge and we're going into another outside edge rather than through an end grain. So now that we've got our holes, we know that we need to pop this into our pocket hole jig here. And I want to make sure that I'm sort of coming out fairly well in the middle. So I'm a little bit offset here. And I just tighten that up. And then we have our pocket hole drill bit attached. And I've also adjusted the collar depth to make sure that I'm just going to the bottom of this. So if you can see here, my collet is set to hit the top of this and the bottom of this. And I can drill my pocket holes. So that's pocket holes for just here. I'll do the other one whilst I'm at it. And now I can pop a couple of screws in. So we want to pop this one in here, this one in here, and I'm going to flip this over. And I'm going to do it against a hard surface. And drill these in. There we go. Now we have a super strong joint. And then I just used another piece of scrap timber, a little bit thinner, as a stretcher or cross brace. And then here I am putting on the top rails, also with pocket holes, but you'll see me putting these on in the wrong position because, you know, I'm fun like that. Anyway, they should have the pocket holes underneath, and it needs to be on more of a 45-degree angle instead of that 15-degree angle, just so we've got more space for the casters to get screwed on. And here is what they should look like. So using the widest part facing up, and then I've got them at a 45-degree angle, and those pocket holes are underneath. And these casters are swivel casters, and they sit about 7 centimeters high, so that I've got a little bit of a gap so that nothing gets knocked while I spin it. Okay, so here is how we are looking. I have to wait for some daylight to show you how it actually turns out. But let's have a look and see if this is sturdy. Yep. Right now, I'm working on doing a center divider for the barrel. So inside the barrel was this. It was just to keep sort of stuff off the floor. So I think I'm going to use this as my center divider that goes in the center to separate our two halves of maturing and adding compost. And I have to figure out my diameter of my barrel. I'm just going to measure the barrel. If you don't have a tape measure like this, you can just use a piece of string and then measure your piece of string on your tape measure. So my circumference is 168 centimeters, and to get the diameter, so the across width, I'm just going to divide that by pi. She says like she's some mathematical genius. Yeah, Nicole. Come on, you learnt that in primary school. So I need to attach this in the center and hold it in place. So what I'm thinking is I've just got some aluminium scrap here, and this plastic came with my pop rivet gun. So I've just sort of cut it up and I'm bending it into an L joint because I want sort of like either metal that doesn't corrode or plastic to be going inside the barrel here. So yeah, I'm just making these into some L brackets. And I'm just cutting the aluminium with my angle grinder. You could do it with a hacksaw as well. Just pre-drilling some holes, and then I'm going to pop rivet the extenders on. Okay, so here is how my center divider is looking. It's very weird. Next up, I am cutting out the door. I use my angle grinder to do this. Don't judge me by the fact that there's a ceramic disc on there. But I thought this would be much better than using a jigsaw, because with the jigsaw, you have to put a hole in each corner. And this gave me nice clean cuts. You could also do this with a small handsaw or even a serrated knife that you're willing to sacrifice. Next, I needed some PVC pipe to act as paddles on the inside of the drum so that the compost gets churned as it's spun. So I basically shouted out to some neighbours and said, hey, has anyone got some PVC pipe laying around? So it was free. So here is one fin in, just with 3 bolts, and now the other piece needs to be going in the opposite direction and on the other side. So I've already marked where that's going to go. I don't know if you can see anything there, but it's going to go up over there. Okay, so after much fiddling around, here's how we're looking. So we have a fin there and a fin under there, and then we have our central divider. So on one half we'll have the stuff that's maturing, and then the other half will be stuff that we're adding to, and then we just swap. But yeah, there is a massive gap around it all, but I guess if it's only spitting kind of this way, then maybe that doesn't matter. I have no idea. We're just gonna roll with it. So I just used regular hinges for these. You should get stainless steel or galvanized steel for these because they're going to be outdoors in the wet. You can use zinc plated, but zinc is very soft, and if it gets a little scratch, they'll get rusty. But anyway, use whatever you got. And I just use nuts and bolts to attach them, but you could use pop rivets. That would be much better, but my pop rivets are not long enough, sadly. But what I want to do now is I want to create a lip that goes all around here so that when it's spun, no liquid starts flowing out and going all over it and getting sticky. So what I've got is, this is just some leftover from my roller door, like a seal at the bottom of the roller door. So I'm just going to use like either side of this. I just want flat, sort of rubbery, plasticky stuff that will be fine outdoors. So I'm just going to cut these. And then I don't know whether this is going to work, but I'm all out of my other glue. And I've literally placed 2 click and drive and collect orders with Bunnings separately. So if I do a third, I'm sure there'd be a fourth and a fifth. And oh my God, can we please open up Victoria? Do, 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 ba, ba, da, ba. I can't be bothered finding some music for this spot. All right, let's cut a hole in the ends for some cross ventilation. You know, I've used my angle grinder so many times in like I've probably had it for 8 months. But oh my God, it is the most handy tool ever. I honestly never thought I would be using it so often. Bloody love this thing. I just used some leftover shade sail that I had laying around for my vents. And here I am just finishing up putting the catch on. Ideally, I should have put 2 on there so to give it a bit more stability, but I didn't, so whatever. I just used nuts and bolts to adhere it, but again, you could use pop rivets if you would like. And I'll pop the link to the one I purchased down below from Bunnings, Australia. Sponsor me! I also decided to paint it black. It probably didn't need this, but the black helps it heat up more, which helps your compost become compost faster. Are you ready to see how she spins? Woo! Obviously, she'll spin a little bit differently with loads and loads of scraps and green waste in there, but that's a pretty good spin. So I nearly forgot about the drain plug. So this is what I've chosen as my little sort of capped drain. So this just screws onto here, and then I'm going to sink this down into it, but they're a little bit too tall. So what I'm going to do is cut off some of this and some of this. And I might have to just check how far this sticks out and if I can still roll the barrel with this much sticking out. Okay, so I'm going to use a spade bit to drill a hole in the bottom, the right size. I'm just going to start it with a small hole first. And I've just got some all-purpose silicone, which I'm going to use to pop it in place. So there is my thread in, and here is what it looks like. So when it's at the bottom, just undo it, and we'll have some beautiful worm juice. Okay, so we're going to start off with some browns. We have some leaves from our front garden. All right, now we've got some greens. And then do you want to put the soil in? Yes. So Sarah went and got some worms out of our garden.
They go on top, yeah? There go wormies. Good journey.
All right, compost update time. So in this side, I've got some stuff that's only freshly been put in there. So nothing is really broken down in there yet. But over this side, we have some almost ready compost. So there's still a little bit more to compost, but this side it's also maybe a little bit damp. I don't know. I don't really know too much about this. I'm so new to it. Let me know if this is too damp or not in the comments below. But you can see with some sifting that is pretty much, I reckon, almost perfect to go and dry out a little bit. But look at that beautiful black compost ready to feed my garden. Woohoo! Thanks for watching, guys.